Slipknot has made a lot of enemies in their decades-long career, but when you dive into their conflicts with other artists, you might find their singer's attitude to be the culprit more often than not. There's no better place to start a list of Slipknot's antagonists than Mushroomhead, the mask-wearing Cleveland metal act that predated Slipknot by a few years. In a 2006 interview with Midwest Movement, Mushroomhead drummer Steve "Skinny" Felton accused Slipknot of compromising their ideals to get to where they were in the metal scene. He stated, "They sold out everyone they possibly could to get that check. They traded a platinum record for dignity, honor, and respect." In addition to their scary masks, Mushroomhead also shared the trait of having way more than a conventional number of members. It's likely that it was for these reasons that Mushroomhead's now former vocalist, Jeffrey Nothing, had some choice words to say a year later. He referred to the Iowa-based band as Roadrunner-invented clones of Mushroomhead in an interview with Metal Hammer. In Mushroomhead's defense, Slipknot certainly fanned the flames during the peak years of their rivalry. Speaking to Revolver, late Slipknot bassist Paul Gray admitted he and guitarist Jim Root tried to punch some fans as they received a hostile reception during a 1999 show in Cleveland. It seems the feud has died down, at least for Felton, who, while speaking on the Talk To Me podcast in June 2020, admitted that Mushroomhead's beef with Slipknot was much ado about nothing. He explained that regardless of the conflict between the bands, Slipknot's success shows that aggressive and grotesque styles of performance are commercially legitimate art forms.
God bless them. Look at, they're one of the biggest bands out there, man.
Sticking with the theme of bands that wear intense costumes on stage, Gwar predates both Mushroomhead and Slipknot. Given how they've been around since the 1980s, it's not shocking that Gwar's late founding frontman, Dave Brockie, had quite a lot of unflattering and dismissive things to say about Slipknot and their singer, Corey Taylor. In 2004, Brockie sat down with Abrasive Rock, who asked him about newer bands that also wore costumes while performing. He didn't mince any words when it came to Slipknot, hinting that the angry tone of their music didn't seem authentic. Speaking of the band's violent lyricism, he said, "Your misplaced angst is really lost on me, because I know you're rich as f***, no? And besides that, you're from Iowa." Speaking to FHM in 2007, Brockie referred to Slipknot as a Gwar tribute band and blasted Taylor for being a whiner when he complained in an interview about how hot his onstage outfit felt. Curiously, while Brockie felt there was no way Slipknot could keep up with Gwar in terms of gimmicks, he was more forgiving when it came to the Iowa band's choice of attire. Comparing Slipknot's costumes to Gwar's, he said, "They dress up in these silly costumes and we appreciate that. I see no reason to denigrate Slipknot or what any other band has done. But come on, we're monsters from outer space. How can they possibly compete with that?" Say what you will about Nickelback being one of the most hated bands in modern rock history, but whether you like them or not, the Canadian band has carved out a long and successful career as a hard rock act, with no gimmicks and a ton of hooks. Very few of those same qualities could be attributed to Slipknot, and that's why Nickelback vocalist Chad Kroeger suggested to Metal Covenant that the masked rockers aren't as successful as they could be. Speaking with the publication, Kroeger alleged that Corey Taylor has criticized him in interviews, saying that the act of writing a hit single isn't exactly hard work. Kroeger pointed out that the two were signed to the same label, and theorized that Slipknot's choice to dress up and act violently while playing may be an attempt to compensate for their mediocre music.
He talks about how easy it is to write a hit song. Well, show me. Show me. Write one. I've yet to hear one.
The Nickelback singer also took shots at Taylor's more conventional, melodic hard rock side project, Stone Sour, stating the reason that Taylor started the project may have stemmed from a desire for fans to see his face. Speaking to 98 KUPD, Taylor fired back, denying that he ever said it was easy to write hit songs and accusing the Nickelback frontman of living on another planet. He also poked fun at Nickelback's iconic level of unpopularity with many rock fans.
And then I just started reading all the comments online. I don't have to say a damn thing.
Right.
He is not a liked person.
Much like Nickelback, Imagine Dragons is another band that doesn't get much love from certain sections of rock's broader fandom. Corey Taylor stands among the large crop of people who can't stand the Las Vegas band's brand of catchy pop rock. In fact, Taylor went so far as to declare Imagine Dragons as the heir to Nickelback's perceived spot as the most hated band in rock. During a 2019 appearance on Sex Pistols guitarist Steve Jones' radio show, Jonesy's Jukebox, the Slipknot singer actually concurred with Jones's point about Nickelback's reputation.
They're like the scapegoat of rock and roll.
They really are. However, they are passing the baton to Imagine Dragons right now, and I love it.
Taylor went on to call Imagine Dragons awful, and it didn't take long for singer Dan Reynolds to issue a response. In an Instagram post that has since been deleted, he mentioned Slipknot, Foster the People, the 1975, Smashing Pumpkins, and other acts that dissed his band over the years. He wrapped up his post with a plea for more compassion and respect in the music industry at large, writing, "I don't feel anger towards them actually, just more of a sadness that this industry embraces, even celebrates this mentality. I wish it felt like a place where artists stood by each other and supported one another, regardless of our different tastes and voices." The 2021 feud between Machine Gun Kelly and Slipknot was as bizarre a musical beef as you can imagine. If you find a rivalry between a young rapper turned pop punk singer and some elder statesman of heavy metal to be a strange one, you're not alone. It all started when Corey Taylor dropped a comment on an episode of Cutter's Rockcast in February of 2021. While he didn't name anyone specifically, it was strongly hinted that he was referring to Machine Gun Kelly when he said, "I hate the artist who failed in one genre and decided to go rock, and I think he knows who he is." 7 months later, Kelly likewise didn't name anyone while addressing his fans at that year's Riot Fest. However, footage from his performance made it blatantly obvious he was referring to Slipknot when he launched into a profanity-laced tirade about not wanting to be 50 years old and still wearing a strange-looking mask on stage. He then took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to insinuate that Taylor was bitter that his verse on one of Kelly's songs got scrapped. He wrote, "It was terrible, so I didn't use it." He got mad about it and talked to a magazine about the same album he was almost on. What followed was more back and forth between Taylor and MGK, with the former claiming he voluntarily pulled his contribution and the latter insisting that it was a matter of poor performance. To be fair, Kelly has since expressed remorse for how he handled the situation, admitting in his documentary Life in Pink that his and Taylor's respective egos may have blown things out of proportion. While Limp Bizkit made music for the working-class party animal, Corey Taylor claims that their vocalist, Fred Durst, insisted Slipknot made music for a much more specific demographic. During a performance in New York in December 1999, Taylor claimed that Durst had some choice words for Slipknot, saying, he said, and I quote, "Slipknot's fans are a bunch of fat, ugly kids. So I said, Fred, you may have a lot of money and be all over the world, but when you talk shit about Slipknot and our fans, we will kill you." Taylor would double down on the anti-Limp Bizkit rhetoric on an Australian TV show, answering a fan's question about Slipknot's feud with the rap rockers. After retelling the story of Durst's original comment, Taylor proudly quipped that he too identified as a quote, "fat, ugly kid," before elaborating that Durst's alleged insult was really an attack on Limp Bizkit as well, as the bands have largely overlapping fan bases.
So what you're basically saying is that your fans are fat, ugly kids too? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
It was a classic comeback, but by the 2010s, the feud had simmered enough that, according to Taylor, Durst's children were big Slipknot fans. The two nu metal frontmen even went as far as to pose together for photos. Talk about time healing old wounds. In the way he often voices his displeasure, Green Day singer Billie Joe Armstrong made his disdain for Slipknot known during a live performance. According to NME, at a September 2000 show in London, in support of Green Day's then upcoming album Warning, a fan threw a clown mask at the stage early on in the set. Armstrong put on the mask and jokingly pretended to be a member of Slipknot before throwing the item back at the audience. He proceeded to make fun of the metal band for their masks and challenged them to write a decent song for once. Much later on in the show, Armstrong took another jab at the masked band, telling fans, "Dedicate this song to the person you hate most in the world. Think about killing the bastard." Take Slipknot, for instance. Regardless of how long Armstrong's dislike of Slipknot's music persisted after that show, his words did little to deter Taylor from being a Green Day fan. The Slipknot singer actually honored the pop-punk outfit by performing acoustic covers of their songs Pulling Teeth and She at a 2015 show in New York City. It seems that of the many public figures Taylor is willing to turn into enemies, his reverence for the California rockers has persisted, despite the lead singer's harsh critiques of his musical ability.